Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Lazarus. Finally, a relatively normal daily that goes to mom's heart. I can't be too upset about this one, and we're playing as a character that actually has decent stats and doesn't have too high of a shot speed, so in my book he's a-okay. And I always like it whenever you start out on a floor, you enter a room and there's not a bunch of enemies in there, or maybe there's even no combat, and it just feels so nice when a floor is tiny like this one is. You have a boss at the end, you beat him, and you feel like you've actually accomplished something and it didn't take you like 4 minutes. It's especially annoying when you have those large rooms with a lot of spiders which have a lot of health and they split into small spiders and they're just so hard to hit, and those rooms are kind of hard to deal with. So it's always nice to have a first floor that's actually relatively easy. But Lazarus, let's talk about Lazarus a little bit. I feel like he has a lot of strategies that go around, especially in terms of reviving as Lazarus too, but I feel like a lot of those don't really have a lot of merit, because as soon as you revive, sure, you get that little damage upgrade and speed boost and things like that, but I really think that that's not really worth it, because you're not getting much out of your return, so going out of your way to revive is usually not that good of an idea. You want it to happen organically, and the best idea I can think of is to not have any spirit hearts at all, enter the second floor, don't take any red heart damage, get offered the devil deal, pick up both of the items that hopefully are there, and then respawn as Lazarus too, and maybe then pick up another item which maybe gives you spirit hearts or something like that. Why I think that is the ideal case is because you're essentially using the health containers of Lazarus 1 to give or get better items, and then of course you trigger the Lazarus 2 transformation, you get the stat bonus, and then you're left with only one red health remaining. And I feel like that's the perfect amount of health to be on, because that still allows you to go to the boss trap rooms, and of course when you go to them you can open them, and what's maybe even better, if there is a devil deal, then you can still pick it up and only trade your red heart away. And of course, because of how the game works, you can also pick up 2 hard devil deals, so I feel like being at 1 red health is probably the most optimal way of going and approaching the game to really get a maximum amount of score, while still being able to afford the devil deal items. Of course, if you have a way to generate spirit hearts or black hearts, like we have the black book that gives us black hearts. I always forget how these books are called. There are so many items in the game, and in the moment I just can't remember the names, but if I maybe thought about it a little bit, then I think I could come up with something. But yeah, if you have a way to generate black hearts or spirit hearts, then it's not that big of a deal, but obviously in a situation where maybe that is a bit limited, then having 1 red health is very important if you actually want to get devil deals. So when you combine all of that together, I feel like Lazarus becomes this character which is not really as much strategic as he is opportunistic, and some runs really feel good with him, because the thing is, you really generally don't want to avoid a spirit heart just to get that ideal situation happening, because you would much rather have a protection or some way to guarantee that you're gonna get a devil deal on the second floor, as opposed to having that marginal increase in stats and damage as you revive. And the problem is, of course, if you do go that route, then you might not even get a devil deal at all, and maybe there's Krampus or whatever, so there's really no way to go about it. So picking up a spirit heart is pretty much the optimal play. But of course, if that ends up happening, then there's no necessary way for you to take away the last spirit heart, especially in a daily run where damage is obviously very valuable and you just can't walk into fires or spikes or whatever. So you really need to get something like a temperance card, or maybe an ivy bag, or maybe even just a curse room, so you can go in there and sacrifice yourself to come back as Lazarus do. But most often what ends up happening, at least in my case, is I just don't do anything. I just stay as Lazarus 1 throughout the most of the game, and I just use Lazarus 2 as maybe a way to revive myself if I happen to die, and maybe go from there. But in all of other cases, I feel like Lazarus 2 is a bit of an overrated form, and maybe it's not even that overrated. It's, I would say, considered a bit too highly in strategic decisions, because really the stats that you get from it aren't that big. But one thing I would like to mention here that works extremely well with Lazarus 2 is, of course, as soon as you respawn as Lazarus 2, you have anemic, and Lazarus 2 has this awesome or weird property that whenever you walk, you don't have to actually take damage in order to trigger the blood trail behind you. So that's basically just as a passive damage, which works if enemies walk over it, and usually it's not that good. Maybe it's good when enemies are chasing you down and it's just a little bit extra bit of damage. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's just not very good. So having a way, something like Toxic Shock actually makes this item really good. Let me explain. So Toxic Shock, what it does is, of course, scales with your damage, and because you tend to get more items as the run goes on, I would wager or maybe say that Toxic Shock will deal about, on average, about 2/3 of an enemy's HP, and that leaves you to finish them off with maybe 1 or 2 shots at most. And when you're in that position, then obviously Toxic Shock becomes very good, but what's even better is as soon as you kill an enemy, and if they split into more enemies, Toxic Shock leaves green creep on the ground, and that's useful because they already have reduced health, they end up jumping into there and then end up dying. But usually if there are some enemies which may be split into more enemies, then of course those enemies have more HP, having a secondary source of damage, something like anemic, which leaves blood trail on the ground, is a good way to actually deal some of those stranglers. I think the best case of usage would be the guys that chase you and then turn into puddles, which respawn and you have to kind of kill them 2 times to actually kill them for real. That's really good, because they end up walking into you, you knock them back with your tears, they end up going their second puddle stage, and then the tear or the blood that is on the ground deals passive damage to them and just finishes them off. So it's a really potent item, and I feel like it really works well with Toxic Shock, even if maybe in most cases it's not that good. So it's one of those synergies which I would say aren't really explicit synergies, they're more like implicit synergies. It's not really the way these items work together, but it's more like having them together just makes for a bit of a more potent combo, but they're not really items that would complement each other, if that makes sense. But of course, as the run went on, I did see that this was gonna be quite a decent run. I kind of had the feeling, because as soon as you get Toxic Shock, that usually means that you're in for a good time, but later on we also got Room Bag, but even better, we managed to find the Black Market, which had Diplopia in it, and it also had a Steam sale, so you can see where this is going. So we bought 2 Steam sales. Of course, every item from that point on is free, and usually that's not that influential. Obviously it's good if you have a lot of shops, but we were on depths too, so how can we really take advantage of that? Well, I wasn't truly sure. What I was maybe hoping for is to get a trinket, the silver dollar, and then maybe generate another shop at some point, maybe in the Womb 1 or Womb 2. And obviously that was a stretch, but I just felt like it would be nice to have the opportunity, because spending 15 cents or just buying items in the shop generally will be worth more than just picking up 2 items worth of points, so in this case 2 Steam sales, just because you get consumables from it, you can get a card which maybe duplicates your consumables, or maybe you just get an item which helps you get more points in general. So I feel like it's a good point investment, even if there's no guarantees that you're actually gonna get another shop. But as luck might strike it, maybe the items that I picked up prior to that, the shop on that floor had Restock, and not only that, when I picked up Restock, I got Ancient Recall, and Ancient Recall gave me the full card. So what I was able to do is do Boss Rush, teleport out, go to the shop and just buy as many items as possible until eventually I had the combo to break. I found a blank card, but I didn't want to rely on it, even though it would probably be better, because I had Room Bag. With Room Bag, obviously, and Blank Card, you can do quite a bit of things. We also had a deck of cards, so what we would really, if you wanted to break the game, what I would do is find a Yara rune and find something like a Temperance card or maybe even a Judgment card, and then go to the last floor and just hope that Ava's rune would appear naturally in the wild somewhere, so I would actually be able to go to Shoal. But even if that didn't happen, I could still go to the Dark Room and use my Forget Me Now there in order to kind of generate more. But I didn't want to go that route, that strategy. I feel like that's something I always do, so what I decided to do in this one is just pick up Humbling Bundle and use the jar to break the game that way, of course, to generate a lot of red hearts, to get a lot of points that way, and later on I just stuck to Compost. I think Compost is a fun item. I felt like it really fit the run, and especially after we got BFF and the Hive Mind, large spiders, large flyers, it just felt more fitting that we actually finished the run off this way. I didn't find the Forget Me Now, I couldn't go to the Dark Room. I decided to go to Shoal Pad just because there are more chances of us getting consumables here, and I still had bombs and keys to fill up, so that would be something like an extra 1,000 points in total if I actually did find them, which would put me something like 46,000, which is obviously a bit better, but it's not gonna change my overall ranking. And when I finished the run, I was actually ranked 2nd. I do expect some people would have a much better score. Obviously, you can improve on this in exploration bonus, and especially stage bonus. As you go to the Dark Room, you can really get more points that way. But overall, it was just a fun experience and just a fun run that really, I think, came together at the end. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.